Retail Snap, a lot of people are asking us about the coronavirus. Clearly, you can't catch the coronavirus from drinking Coronas, and we're going to have a bit of a breakdown of what actually it is and how that is actually going to affect us. Obviously, there's been some deaths, and this is looking like it's going to continue to climb. So you really have to understand that the coronavirus is actually a virus, much like a normal flu. And it's just another strain of it. The SARS outbreak in 2003, which was also a coronavirus, was originating from bats, and it caused 774 fatalities. Currently, the recorded coronavirus outbreak has caused over 560 fatalities as of now, and there's over 28,000 people that have directly been affected. Let's face it, this is the amount that's actually been reported. The death rate could increase, and I have no doubt the death rate will increase in the coming weeks. The virus is not only killing people, but it's definitely hurting businesses and agriculture. Such things as markets, restaurants, and basically any business that is involved with something that either comes in China or out of China. So China is actually in lockdown. So you can see how much this is affecting China, let alone the rest of the world. Apple, McDonald's and Starbucks have all temporarily closed their stores in China, while car manufacturers Toyota, Ford, Hyundai have all paused production. So what does this mean for Australia? The Australian government has put a ban on tourists coming over to Australia from China, and we've also quarantined some people that may be affected by the virus. Chinese tourists and students spend an estimated $16 billion annually in Australia, and China is our biggest export partner, and it will have a huge impact on the export market. So to get more detail about this, let's have a chat to Tim Cartwright, and he's the Drake's National Fresh Foods Manager. Here we are with Tim Cartwright, and Tim, I've got to ask you a few questions. What sort of an effect will this have on the export market?
Yeah, for sure. Look, China being Australia's largest trade partner with exports, it's going to have a massive effect on the Australian export market. Chinese love Australian food, so yeah, it's going to have a massive impact.
So I've got to ask the question, why have things been cut entering into China?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. People are kind of saying, why are they stopping stuff going into China? It's not that they're stopping product going into China, it's because the ports have been closed. People have been advised to stay at home, or they're staying at home. You need people to unload containers, etc. So that's really what's happening. That's why at the moment, we're looking at, from last report, there were 6,000 containers of frozen meat sitting in Shanghai port right now. No one's there to unload it. So right now, I think there's restrictions in multiple sites. Shanghai, I think, is in total shutdown. And across the whole country, there are a lot of restrictions and shutdowns going on right now.
What would be the biggest industry that would be affected the most in your eyes?
Look, right now, I would have to say our aquaculture industry. Australia actually exports about $700 million worth of lobster per annum, and 95% of that actually goes to China. And what we're finding is, something like lobster is, known as a delicacy, but with restaurants and everything being shut down, people not allowed to going cross borders, food's not allowed to come in, all of that food isn't going to be eaten. So there's probably the biggest, industry I think that's going to be affected right now.
So does that mean that we're going to see cheaper crayfish, lobster prices in Australia?
Yeah, look, I think what you were saying, I think the government has done a fantastic job, along with industry bodies, to mitigate what's happening. This is something that we want to be sustainable about. So a lot of this cray that is actually in tanks at the moment, or the lobster that's in tanks, is actually getting put back out into the ocean, and they're really managing through that. You've got to remember, this has happened very quickly. So no, I don't believe we'll see a massive surge of lobster onto the market, and you know what? It's not really something that the Australians buy every night either. So yeah, look, we'll definitely see prices drop. As you mentioned, prices have already dropped, but they're managing it, I think very, very sustainably. So I don't think you're going to see massive drops and a massive influx of lobster, and everyone's having lobster for dinner over the next couple of months.
What will this mean for the Australian consumers?
Yeah, look, I don't believe it's going to mean a lot, but look, to be honest, our procurement teams are actually talking with, our manufacturers, processors and growers daily, just to get a feel on what's going on. I think there's been enough put in place that it'll manage through. But we'll be looking at any surplus coming onto the market, and hopefully if there is surplus, we'll do our best to pass on some price savings to our consumers. But right now, I think everything's getting managed quite well, and it's a little bit of a day-to-day proposition on where things are situated.
So some information coming out, and there's obviously lots of misinformation as well. It's fair to say that our farmers, the horticulture, agriculture industries have been smashed for 2020 so far. What's your thoughts on how it's all panning out for them?
Yeah, look, to be honest, the last 3 months, we've had horrific, devastating fires, right across Australia, which has really put an impact not only on people's lives and families, but all on the agriculture and horticulture industries, which has caused a lot of issues in supply. This whole thing about potentially China not taking a lot of product, it might just ease some of that strain right now for Australia.
I don't know about you, but there's no doubt that the coronavirus has been dealt with very quickly in the scheme of things. But my question is, how long has this actually been going on for before the world has actually found out? Let's face it, China's pretty much a closed door when we start talking about things. So this might have been around for a while, and the fact that we actually know about it now, and the fact that they're actually building a hospital to contain this, that tells me something's pretty serious. So we look at it to now. Things can spread a lot faster, there's no doubt about that. Whether it's through air, touch and saliva, it can definitely do that. This is just another reason why we look at the conditions that we have in our markets here in Australia. If you want to do yourself a favour, look up the Wuhan market and you'll see some things that I'm pretty sure you've never seen in your life. And those sort of standards, they just wouldn't happen here in Australia. And it does make you realise how our regulations are in place, how good our products are, how good our produce is, our livestock. It's all A-class coming out of this country. As you heard from Tim, there could be some good or bad. Everything is still really much up in the air. And it's interesting to see how we are actually starting to deal with these pandemics once they come out. Working on a current count of recoveries versus deaths, fertility. Working... I don't understand how it comes from a bat.
They don't even have a cricket team.
Yeah, that's what bothered me. They don't have a cricket team.